you mentioned that here in Germany, or here in Bavaria particularly, this is like a center for Southeast European research. So can we consider that a recommendation for other non-German scholars or people from Kosovo, for example, to come here and, enjoy the benefits that it has to offer?
Definitely.
Einmal. Balkans Calling. Voices from the region.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Balkans Calling, Voices from the Region. My name's Jack Broughton, and the voice from the region that we've got with us here in the studio today is not just any guest, but a personal friend of mine, Fatos Hoxha. Fatos is a PhD candidate researching here at the Graduate School for East and Southeast European Studies in Regensburg, and he's kindly agreed to give an interview here today for the podcast, where he'll explain a little bit about the research topic that he's focusing on. Thank you for coming, Fatos.
Hello, Jack. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure, and I hope I will enjoy and we'll have a nice talk.
How long have you been here at the Graduate School so far?
I started my PhD project in April in 2023, so it has been roughly a year, 11 months. Yes, it's been a pleasure, and sometimes with some stressful days, but in general, I am enjoying my time here.
Good, you're having fun.
As much as I can.
Good. So let's get into it. Can you tell me and the listeners a little bit about the topic of your doctoral research and if you've got any results so far?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So my PhD research, it falls under labor history as a subdiscipline of history. And also I analyze from a microhistory perspective. My research is focused in the time frame of from the 60s until the 80s, 1960s, in Kosovo, which means that in that part, Kosovo was part of Yugoslavia. And I specifically look into the workers' lives in this mining complex or conglomerate or enterprise, whatever you name it, in north of Kosovo called Trepča. Trepča used to be a large industrial complex in many places, actually not only in one specific town, but it was the headquarters and the majority of the enterprise was located in the town of Mitrovica. And because it was one of the largest enterprises in Yugoslavia, at some point employing almost 30,000 workers, it kind of serves for me as a mini microcosmos of Kosovo society during that period. I look into workers' daily lives, the influence that workplace had in their lives, be it inside the workplace during the working hours, but also outside it. And it is typically seen as a mining community because it was a mining complex, extracting zinc, coal, copper, and to some degree gold. And in that regard, one thinks of it as a miner's place or a miners community. But because it was a huge enterprise, there were many other workers in different disciplines, from economists to administrative assistants, engineers. So in that regard, it serves as a standpoint of this society during that time.
Interesting. So there are many different varied aspects that you could look at.
Exactly. And that's actually is my aim broadly speaking. I was interested always. interested in microhistories and this bottom-up approach of analyzing history. Because I think that I would like to think that it was some kind of, I don't know, a divine providence that made me choose this topic, but it wasn't. It was simpler than that. To some degree, we grew up with listening to stories from our parents, grandparents, neighbors, and family members, friends. And in some case, it influences what we decide to do for our research.
Of course.
For some more than the others. And in that regard, I always felt like microhistories is a part of analyzing history that I'm really interested in knowing and in hearing and in getting the essence of some period or a society through the people's lives. And I also, while I was writing my master thesis, actually, I realized how little it is produced in terms of history in Kosovo. And in general, I would say in Albanian studies. And I just found it as a huge research gap that I would like to get involved to. It kind of tickled my curiosity to do something about it. And yes, I am exploring it. Not just for the sheer joy or purpose of trying to fill a gap, but also because I believe that these stories need to be heard. These stories are part of Kosovo society. They are not, oral history in general tends to be, it is used to not forget the people. And because it's a recent history, it's modern history, so some people are still alive, and it would be also important to give them the voice and in there to somehow collect and preserve the history of this period and of these people, and also in Kosovo, growing up in a very turbulent period. It was, for me especially personally, it was not a dull upbringing in terms of witnessing history and politics and society, how it's changing. And this is something that my personal experience is influenced also what I wanted to research. And some people in the future, they will research my time during this period. So why shouldn't I also delve into the past and see?
Absolutely. It sounds interesting. You mentioned oral history.
Yes.
This is something that's come up before in one of our episodes. When Ger interviewed Daniela Koleva, she also mentioned oral history. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose this method in particular? You mentioned giving voice to these people who I guess maybe might not have their stories told otherwise. Why you chose this method, and if you're using exclusively oral history methods?
No, actually I'm not. My main methods are archival research, and because that's what historians do, and oral history, because as I said before, it's kind of borders social anthropology as a discipline in my case, as the topic that I've chosen. So, and because people are live, some of them are still living, so it is beneficial in my case and will serve as a good source material to interview people and to ask and to get their experience because they are still living, and you can have first source materials in this regard. So mine is a combined method: archival research and oral history. And this is something that I really like to do, and I like to mix methods in a sense that you get one adds to the other or one supports the other, and this is the main idea. So yes, in this regard, I'm using archival research and oral history in getting the testimonials of people that lived during that time.
Of course. You said 1960 to 1980, right? That's not that long ago, so there's still hopefully lots of respondents for you to ask. Why did you choose this particular period?
So this period experienced, in Kosovo especially, in 1974, the Yugoslav constitution changed, so Kosovo achieved higher autonomy. These changes actually influenced the life, the economy, the society of Kosovo, and this is regarded as in a way a booming period for Kosovo in terms of social, political, cultural, and economic advancement, and also because Trepča is regarded, if you know the history of Kosovo during these times in Yugoslavia. During late Yugoslavia and afterwards, you see that there are lots of changes happening, be it politically, economically, and socially. So, in 1989, there was a huge strikers movement from miners in Trepča, and this is heavily researched, and it's a founding or a pivotal moment in Kosovo modern history. And because I am a person that likes to do something maybe different, and to go and venture to other undiscovered places. I chose to see what happened before that, how people lived before 1989, when the inter-ethnic relationships or grievances were less dominant. They were always there in a way, but in 60s, 70s, 80s, the other aspects of person's lives were more important, I would say. And they are always way more important. People live daily lives doing what we do nowadays, thinking about their daily works, tasks, their salaries, their leisure time. And I was interested in this period because it also gave more power to Kosovo Albanians to come to the surface and to explore and reach their potential in terms of achieving socially, culturally, and politically achieving some kind of advancement.
Because these constitutional changes that you mentioned, am I right in thinking they gave more autonomy to Kosovo as a region or as a province?
As a province, yes. So it was elevated into an autonomous province, which was basically kind of the same level with the other republics in Yugoslavia. So Kosovo and Vojvodina had the veto power, and they were more funds gearing towards Kosovo as the least developed province of Yugoslavia.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned that obviously a lot of historiography about the former Yugoslavia focuses on ethnic conflict and the wars that eventually happened in the 90s. But you said in this period, before the miners' strike of 1989, it allows you to place the emphasis a bit more on ordinary people's lives. Would you say that this increased autonomy for Kosovo allowed people to sort of develop and unfold their personal lives or their work lives a little bit more, or was it a distinct period also on a social level?
I would agree with that it allowed them to explore other aspects of their lives, because I guess freedom is a fundamental right and need. So in a sense, you when you don't think about existential issues, you have more time to reach out to yourself and to develop further in some other ways. So definitely I would say that this gave Kosovo Albanians a lot of power and leverage in other aspects of life. Cool. But in a sense, this is for me one of the aspects of I don't focus on inter-ethnic, or I don't take the ethnicity as a driving point of this. I see it plays a huge role, of course. I just see the dynamics between different hierarchies and stratas of workers in a company, and how these influenced decision making, for example, between different actors, stakeholders in a company, be it from a local level, but also from a country level, and how these workers, how their power shift existed or elevated or happened in this case. So there were workers' councils, for example, where workers were chosen to be representative of their own groups or community, and they were then lobbying for more funds and more cadre politics and more scholarships for students and for newly employed workers. So all of these are things that I look into to analyze these changes in a kind of sample of a society, in this case Kosovo.
You mentioned scholarships for students.
Yes.
I read that the University of Pristina was founded during this period.
Exactly.
As one of the sort of expressions of greater autonomy.
You see many of these changes happening during this period. The foundation of University of Pristina, and it's actually an interesting example because it's one of the universities that played a huge role in the movement in Kosovo for. It was the only university, public university in Kosovo, and it was in Albanian language, so it directly touched the majority of the population, and it gave them, influenced their dynamics, influenced their thinking, and how and also played a huge role in education of the population during that time. So it's one of the most eclatant examples of how much a university, how important is university for the development of a society.
Absolutely,
especially when it's the only one.
Right. And just to sort of wrap up this first section about the topic of your research, whereabouts, if you had to describe whereabouts you are at the moment in your research and where is left to go, what would you say? You've been here a little bit less than a year, right?
Exactly. Yes, less than a year. And usually when you are coming to, although Germany, I've studied here before I did my master's, so it's not a completely foreign country, but it takes, when you move outside of your home place or where have you been earlier, it takes some time to get adjusted to the new setting and new environment. So these take some months in the beginning. So now I am in this process of planning my research, to do archival research, which is a huge and important step for my thesis development. And since I didn't mention, but there are not much historical research done for this period in Kosovo, so I have to go and to look thoroughly in the archives, and this will take a huge chunk of my PhD process. So during this time, I will focus on that, and what the other parts or steps of the PhD, we'll see. I have done 2.5 years to go, and I wish maybe we can have another podcast.
Absolutely, gladly.
2 years later, and then I will be more. I know what to tell you
for sure,
how to answer this question.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Absolutely. So, have you done the interviews, the oral history part already? And it's just
this is there has been a production recently in Kosovo of there is this movement of oral history. There is oral history Kosovo, great project that. Records histories of people in many spheres, not just in Trepča, or not just for Trepča. And there have been some production. There have been a compendium of oral interviews with Trepča workers. So this is kind of it helps me to use it as a starting point for my interviews. I've done some, but I have to do more in order to kind of complete my field research. But it is always interesting to work with oral history. It's something that, and I like to do it myself because I like to experience to get a connection with the interlocutor and to analyze not just the verbal aspects but also the hidden meanings in some ways.
And do you find that the people that you interview like talking about this period?
Definitely. This is one of my maybe results, that most of the people like talking about it and they view it as a great time in their lives. Trepča was the pride of Kosovo as a industrial company or industrial setting, and it produced a lot. It was, in a sense, what Kosovo meant, being very rich in natural resources of, like, especially coal, and people had some kind of had a strong, actually, affiliation with their workplace, and this is what interests me. And it's, in a sense, we live nowadays in a society where we talk a lot about problems of daily life, the precarity of the work, and how insecure or unstable we are in so many ways in this regard. And this is something that I would like to compare in terms of how it was back then and how it is now, in some case, of the importance of the workplace or having a stable job, in a sense, and what it provides and gives to you.
I imagine that the workplace held a very different position in people's lives in a socialist society Definitely. Than it does today.
For some people, this was the first and only job that they had. And they started working there very young, maybe, but then they worked for all their life. And nowadays this is less common. We tend to switch jobs and to have more diverse job prospects or opportunity or tastes if you want to move to another workplace. But back then it was very much a standard way of living and in terms of work, and they had to. It becomes kind of part of your personality in a way when you work in a workplace for a long time.
One thing that I wanted to go back to was, you mentioned some of the challenges or aspects, should we say, of moving to Germany to pursue this research. I'm obviously a foreigner here myself. I'm from the UK originally. And I just wanted to ask you to elaborate a little bit more on what your experience has been so far of studying here at the graduate school in Regensburg, and how you're finding it, and maybe a little bit more on what your experience as a non-German is here.
I have to say, I think this depends on the individual and your past experiences or background. If you are a person who moved a lot and you studied in different places, then it might be easier. Or if you are a person that speaks the language fluently, then it plays a huge part in how well you can adapt to new environments. In my case, I studied before in Germany. I did my master's, and so in a way, I'm not that unfamiliar with Germany. I speak the language. I'm not fluent. I speak it a bit. I have made friends here, so I have connections with Germany. When I chose to come to Germany again, my thesis, my project falls in under history as a discipline, and especially Albanian studies or Southeastern European history, which is Germany and German-speaking countries, this Dach Raum. It is the most prolific environment of production in Eastern Europe and especially Southeastern Europe in the world, I would say, and especially Bavaria, Austria. They have a very strong history in Albanian studies production, and there were always researchers and scientists who were interested in this region a lot from 19th century onwards. And for me, it was important to be in a setting where I can get the best help and feedback for my research, and also because Germany was not that unfamiliar to me. But for international students are in a way have this double struggle that maybe people who live in this country don't, because we besides having to think about our studies, we also have to adapt to a new setting, new environment, new country, and to know the rules, which takes some time in Germany, and to navigate the system, the culture. And you have to, you multitask. You learn two things at the same time. You learn how to do research, or you dedicate a huge time in your research, but also you have to think about these other aspects, how to deal with other issues which maybe not everyone has it. And this is a struggle, but it can be also, challenging, but in a way it helps you to grow as a person. Mm-hmm. And to me, definitely, it helped me a lot to learn a lot of things, not just professionally, but also personally about myself. And in Regensburg, it is the graduate school. It does offer this setting where you are among your peers that work in similar fields, and even if they don't work in the same discipline, still this is a beneficial and a plus, because you can exchange things that you don't do maybe if you study alone in a very independent setting. And PhD in general is more independent as a process than masters or bachelors. But here, the good thing about graduate school is that you have these groups and classes where you can interact with your peers, and in this sense, it helps you a lot to develop maybe new ideas and to explore new pathways for your research in the future.
Absolutely. That you said about being part of a little community of researchers here is something that I've even felt. I mean, I'm studying my master's at the university, but I work in the Seafield office just along the hall from the graduate school, and I find it a very intellectually stimulating place to be, coming into contact with all of you guys. One last thing that I wanted to ask is, you mentioned that here in Germany, or here in Bavaria particularly, this is like a center for Southeast European research. So can we consider that a recommendation for other non-German scholars or people from Kosovo, for example, to come here and enjoy the benefits that it has to offer?
Definitely. I don't have to sugarcoat it. It's a great place to do research, and in general, what I like about German, I don't have other reference point. I always only studied in Germany and in Kosovo. So, but what I like about Germany is this, in a way, egalitarian system of universities. And in Germany, universities are, I mean, maybe someone should correct me if I'm wrong, but they are more dedicated to departments where there are specific departments which are famous and produce lots of research in specific fields, and not as a whole universities. Usually departments are famous for something and not universities. And you have the universities which are great, but you don't see them, you don't hear about them enough. And Regensburg, it's definitely the place to be if you want to study Southeastern Europe or Eastern Europe in general. But in my case, I can only talk about Southeastern Europe. And not just from Kosovo, but especially from Kosovo, maybe also smaller countries which not necessarily produce lots of research in specific fields, that this is a great opportunity to, if someone is interested in a specific project or a field, that they can do that and can further develop their academic field and their academic potential. And definitely Regensburg, with all of these great professors or researchers that work in different fields, but they have their expertise in Southeastern Europe, it's a huge plus and something that you will need if you want to study, to do a PhD and to further develop your academic life, career.
Good. Well, that's good to hear that Regensburg is a good place from which to do that. Fantastic. What a shining recommendation we've got here from Fatos today. All right. Well, thank you very much, Fatos, for giving us this wonderful, interesting introduction into your research. And from me, and I'm sure all of the listeners as well, we wish you all the best of luck and success further on up the road with your further research.
Thank you very much, Jack. It was a pleasure, and I really enjoyed talking to you and doing this podcast.
Our podcast recommendation, Workers from Eastern Europe. Does the minimum wage end exploitation? By Deutschlandfunk